Me too. I was too. Yep, I love drumming too. You might know that since I host Drum Circle. Yes. So I want to thank everybody for joining us on the broadcast today. Thank you for spending your morning with us or whenever it is you happen to see the broadcast. So welcome to Home Center. And so we'll start out with an opening prayer. So we'll just thank you, Spirit, for the gathering we have here today and for those that are yet to watch our broadcast in the future. And we just want to bring love and peace into the world, bring it into our hearts, into each and every person. Would like to spread that throughout the world, into the collective consciousness. And we're just so grateful that we have this opportunity to live this amazing life and to be with one another in this beautiful gathering on this beautiful Sunday. Even though it's a little cloudy, it's a beautiful day. And going to be open to the messages of whatever is right for us and take with us the love and light that lands in our heart and be ever so grateful. Amen. Okay, so welcome Connie up to give us her message.
All this new technology. So, this morning, I'm going to talk to you about not letting the world lock you out of your soul. And I'm going to begin with a quote from a little book called Mr. God, This is Anna by Flynn. Letting your soul, or whatever fancy name you like to give it, out of its cage and into the daylight is perhaps the hardest thing anyone can do. Yeah, letting this soul out into the world is very difficult because of what's going on out here. Back in the 60s, we had what most of us referred to back in that day as the Free Love Society, the days of the hippies and the big band type things and the gatherings was going on. This was a time when things began to change. People began to open up. I know it seemed a little chaotic and weird, but that was what was happening. I'm not exactly sure, but I think it was sometime in the 70s that we had a worldwide effort to bring peace on the earth with something called harmonic convergence. That was a message broadcast from Earth to the universe that we wanted things to change here. It was heard. Through the 70s, 80s, 90s, you often heard the word New Age. And some people didn't like that word. I can remember specifically when I first started practicing herbalism out of my home out in Dallas, I put together a flyer that was going to go up in a local sort of New Age shop here in town. And one of my customers was somebody new, came in, took total offense at that. You must be practicing witchcraft, and left. So New Age wasn't the word that all people wanted to hear. However, here we are in 2023 on the cusp, the beginning of a new age, the age of Aquarius. We've come out of the Piscean age, which was the age of materialism, and we are going into the age of Aquarius, the age of mind expansion, learning to use our minds more efficiently. But we've got to make a connection. We've got to make a connection with our soul. Now, some people believe that the soul lies in a chamber back behind the heart. It's been weighed Scientifically, it's been weighed that a person loses about 3% of their weight after death. So whether it lies there or down here in the solar plexus or down here in your little toe, I think it's really, truly everywhere that we have that spark of God within us. To go back into about 1980s, I believe it was, I remember my friend Jana and her husband were visiting us when we lived in Kansas. And Jana was telling me about a vision she'd received in meditation. She said, I saw a very dark, black, dense cloud surrounding the earth, and I wonder what it means. Neither of us knew at that time, in the mid-1980s, what that cloud was all about. However, we did conclude that it wasn't indicating anything good was going on in our world. Sometime later, I read that this negative, dense fog was seen by the space beings keeping watch over our planet, and that it represented the collective consciousness of humanity. And at that time in the 1990s, it was considered to be rather a dense, dark cloud of negativity. I've read recently that the fog is back. We were heading in a pretty good direction prior to COVID, is what I've read. And that with COVID and all that's ensued in the last few years, there's been a lot of fear and a lot of negative energy coming back up. So we have to really get in touch with our souls. We can't let that world lock us out of our souls. So it's beginning to break up again. Let's keep it breaking up. Let's keep our touch in touch with our souls. We have to let that light shine forth. James O'Day has a wonderful little prayer thing in his book, Soul Awake, where he says, Soul awake, heart open, light shining, love flowing, wounds dissolving, peace radiating. We say it for ourselves, we say it for community, we say it for the world. We have to reach, again, that critical mass that was coming forth to shift this world. That's what we're in. We're in the time of shift. We're shifting out of an old way of consciousness, the old paradigm, into a new consciousness, a higher frequency. The world is beginning to vibrate at a higher frequency than it did for many, many years. That's being shown scientifically. Guess what? Our heart goes right along with that vibration unless we block it. And if we do, we don't feel so great. So that's very, very important right now, is to allow ourselves to continue to get in touch with our soul. Because united, we stand. Divided, we fall. It's an old adage. And it's very, very true. We don't want to let that frequency that we're creating, that higher frequency that is leading us up into that higher state of consciousness, that state of consciousness where we can reach into that higher next frequency of the divine. We are at that crossroads right now in our lives, most of us, where we feel, a lot of us are saying we feel sort of in a limbo. We don't know where next to put our foot. Where are we going? What am I supposed to be doing here? What is my mission? What is my purpose? Who am I? All of this is coming up for us because our souls are beginning to awaken, just like James O'Day's poem. As an answer to our cry out for help, many people today are waking up and beginning to realize that we need to work together. We need to release the negativity and the fear that has encompassed this world for ages. No more war. There are more people today that want peace than ever before. There are people, and a lot of young groups of people, meditating all over the world for peace to come. So if we tune ourselves into war, bad news all the time, let our energies go into the negative, that pulls the whole of social consciousness down, which then in turn pulls the whole energy throughout our solar system, our galaxies, and our universe down. Creator has declared it's a time to shift. It's a time to move out of duality, which has ruled in our solar system for a very long period of time, into oneness, into unity consciousness. That doesn't mean you lose your individuality. You still continue to have that. But it means that we learn to quit judging and start loving in this world. It means that we let go of fear and trust and have faith that we are upheld in love and light by our Creator. There's an old adage that goes, God helps those who help themselves. So we have to help ourselves. We have to work on ourselves. Having a daily spiritual practice of some sort is a very, very positive thing to do right now. It helps uplift our own consciousness as well as everyone else. Emotions lead to ideas that then require action to bring them into manifestation. That's the order. Idea comes to us as a thought. We have an emotion to do something about it. And when we follow through with those little nudges and we pay attention to the synchronicity, the different things that come up that seem to kind of meld together, and suddenly there's what we might consider almost a miracle happens. I can remember I told this story already, but the other day, my grandson, who's now living with us, was going to mow the lawn, but all he has for footwear was a pair of flops or Zoris or whatever you want to call them these days. And I knew that that wasn't a good idea, that you shouldn't really mow a lawn with your toes exposed. So I told him, I says, we're going to run up to the secondhand store and see if we can find you a pair of shoes. Well, he wears like a size 11 and a half wide. The chances of finding that were probably pretty slim. We walk in, first pair of shoes I see, I pick up and I says, these look like they fit. They did. They were 11 and a half wides. So you can manifest. Strong emotions and thoughts bring it about. Ernest Holmes used to say, he's a founder of Science of Mind, you have to have the fire of heaven going. In other words, you've got to get your passion going behind what it is you want to manifest. We have a group meeting here, I think it's on the last Tuesday of the month, called The Power of Eight. They're working with this idea and they're having great results. Remember what Jesus said, where two or more of you are gathered, I am with you. In other words, my power, my energy, the Christ Spirit is with you to help you manifest. So if you're having trouble getting what you want in life, you might want to work with others. Again, back to that unity consciousness idea. They now believe, if you watch certain things and read certain things, that the pyramids and all the great temples of the past were built through the power of mind. They didn't have those slaves moving those big blocks of rock across and building pyramids. No, they had groups of people who knew how to do this, work together, create a certain tone, a certain thought, and those rocks move magically. We would have thought it was a miracle. That kind of power has been forgotten. In our age, we have forgotten. We've forgotten who we are. We've forgotten about that power that lies within us, and we've been disconnected from our souls. So it's time to reconnect. Don't let the outer world block you out of your soul connection. It takes work. It takes dedication to recapture what we truly are, that divine spark of God. Christ Jesus said, "Stand at the door and knock, and it will be opened unto you." Are we standing before the door of our own souls these days? With trepidation, not sure that we want to reach out there and knock? What might it open for us? We might have to fulfill our mission here. And maybe that mission is to bring light into this world. Maybe this mission is that we have to take care of others. Maybe this mission is something that you never dreamed you'd be doing, but it will bring you into a state of passion and love and unity. Eric Butterworth puts it this way: there is a doorway or an entrance through which the mind must pass on on its way to spiritual realization. And that door can be opened by none but one who is to enter. Within each person is a secret place of the Most High, the Holy of Holies, the resting place of the name of God. In other words, the resting place of the soul, which is a human being's connecting point to their Creator God. This is how we connect. I can remember there was a movie that Eddie Murphy starred in years ago. I don't remember exactly the title of it, but he was like this little being that was inside of this robotic, like human type being. Yeah, we got to get in touch with that little being within ourselves, our soul. Because humankind is such an impatient lot, the push is now on to unlock our imprisoned souls. We want it to hurry up. And I'm hearing this through channel messages that the angels or whoever is watching over us are hearing us. They're saying, "You humans, you're so impatient. But you live in a world that believes in time. Therefore, this is not something that is going to be instantaneous. We have to be patient. Our world is changing a little bit by a little bit." When you look out there are people that are doing miraculous things to help others. They're helping the homeless. They're helping the sick. They're bringing water to villages in Africa that need water. They're creating products that are needed. There's somebody that has created something that's cleaning the plastic out of the oceans, for instance. We saw a man from Japan that had invented something that he could convert plastic, which is made of oil, back into oil that could be used. Haven't seen it come on the market yet, but it's there. We are being helped. We are being held in the hand of God right now to make this shift because it matters. It matters a whole lot. We cannot have another nuclear war on this planet. It's not going to be allowed. Why? Because it reverberates out into the whole and it affects others. We are responsible for what we create that ripples out. That's why we've got to get in touch with our souls. Things that once took years to accomplish can now be achieved in a much shorter amount of time. We've been feeling this speeding up of time, and we're finding that things are coming at us just like this. Is that not your experience? Yeah. Mm-hmm. With this realization about a shorter period of time between thought, action, and materialization occurring, it seems to me that it is possible to simply ask, and you will receive it without a great deal of delay. Again, you got to have that fire of heaven behind your asking, but it can manifest very quickly. Many have been asking for change, and help has arrived, but we need to acknowledge it. We need to be grateful to those that are helping us. They are in the unseen, but there are some that can see it. So we have to give thanks. Give thanks that out of the chaos and the craziness, something new and greater is being birthed, and we are being helped in this birthing process. A recent message from uh, Adria Windhorse Estrabel. She channels Archangel Raphael, and this is what he had to say. You have intentionally asked to be uplifted as Earth uplifts and humanity uplifts at this time. However, many people have chosen to stay in the very practical 3D reality. That is a choice given to all here on this planet. Perhaps you see friends who are doing very well with 3D way of life. However, you feel out of touch with how to move forward, but they feel out of touch with how to move forward now. And I know I have felt out of touch at times and not knowing which way, being in that limbo state. But we have to open the door, we have to ask, we have to receive. What is suggested at this time, he goes on to say, is to tune into what is around you and really listen and intuit with your heart, your soul. What are you being called to now? Perhaps it is not possible to move through the 3D methods any longer. We can't go about things the same old way of living in fear. It isn't working. We cannot allow ourselves to be enslaved. We have to quit judging. We have to have faith. We have to give forth love. If you have been freed from the old structures, what does your heart want? That's what you need to get in touch with. What would it be that would delight you to do? Take time out and listen to the wind rustling in the leaves of a tree, the gentle sound of the rain, or the song of a bird. Take time in nature. Take time in quiet to connect to your soul and ask yourself, what makes my heart merry and want to dance? This could be quite different than it was just a year ago. That was his message to us, Raphael's message. By not paying attention to our inner voice, you may be causing yourself unnecessary heartaches. What in life is locking you out of your soul, out of your higher experience? To go back to James O'Day for a moment, he wrote another book about creative stress. And stress is one of the big issues that we're dealing with in modern society. It used to be, it took the dinosaur about to eat you to get your stress response to go off. These days, it can be your cell phone ringing. It can be the dog barking. It can be many things. So he says, can you examine what it is in your life that is causing you to go into a state of stress? What is it? And if you can recognize it, what thoughts do you have around it? What emotions do you have around it? How can you change those? What positive way can you give yourself a thought and encouragement? I remember Reverend Jay talking a little bit about this kind of thing. He and his brother, at a very young age, had parents that had to work 12 hours, days, 7 days a week practically, in order to survive during the Depression. So he and his little brother had to take over doing household chores, ironing, cleaning, even cooking at times. And he said, I had to make it be a game in order to be able to handle doing all of that without being down and out. So however you can make it be a game, something fun, something you love to do, even if it's a challenge, can be helpful to your soul. So he tells us, don't let the world lock you out of your soul by taking on unnecessary burdens and stress. That's the message of James O'Day. Instead, listen and look to see what calls to your heart, what causes sadness and depression, and what causes joy and fulfillment. This is done through paying attention to your feelings. Thoughts of lack and limitation can lock one out of their soul. Connecting to the creative God, not letting go of your wounds and and letting go of your wounds and negative judgments of yourself and others. That's the key. That's the key. Leave your troubles and burdens and all you know behind and knock at that inner door and unlock the way to your soul, your heart, that place of pure love and knowing, and regain the compound, the whole world. We will regain the whole world and create the new age, the golden age. That's what we want to desire. So let's take a moment now and go into meditation. Let's take a couple of nice, deep, cleansing breaths. Put your hand over your heart space and visualize a beautiful door right before you. We're going to open that door to our souls. So reach out with pure intent to open that door and make that connection to your soul. Let's take a moment and reach out and open that door. And each of us may experience something slightly different within that chamber. Take a deep breath again. And know that this connection is now open. Your heart is open. Your light is shining. Your love is flowing. Your wounds have dissolved and peace is radiating through you now and into this world. And so it is. And I want to leave you with one last little thing. This is from a book of blessings. To come home to yourself is the title of it. May all that is unforgiven in you be released. May your fears yield their deepest tranquilities. May all that is unlived in you blossom into a future. Grace, grace with love. Let that be our future. And so with that, I'm going to ask Reverend Madge to come back up. Oh, wait a minute. No, we're going to do the offering next. Sorry. After the close. Okay, sorry. Yeah. All right.
We'll still do that.
Yeah, I must have an old paper.
Yeah, sorry for that, Connie. Okay, so what we'll do is I'll do a closing prayer. We'll close our broadcast, and then we'll continue on with what we have to share here today. All right. So in our closing prayer today, thank you, Spirit, for being with us. Let the truth land in our hearts and wherever is right for us, that resonates with our truth. And we're just so filled with the spirit of gratitude that we can be together and with in this energy of love and light here today. And we'll just let that be released out into the world, into the collective consciousness, to spread the love and peace out into the world as it is needed and welcomed. Amen. All right, we close broadcast. Thank you, folks, for being with us here today.